Hi, I'm Leandro Palladino from the YLTSIG. As you probably know, on the 20th of April, we'll have a pre-conference event jointly organized with the Inclusive Practices and Special Educational Needs SIG. And we have here with us Annette Igel, who's going to tell us about the talk that she's going to give that day. It will be a hybrid event. So if you can't make it to Brighton, you can sign up and watch the 5 wonderful speakers that we're going to have that day on the topic of inclusive practices in relation to young learners and teenagers. Hello, Annette. Thank you for being here. Would you like to say a few words about yourself, about your interests?
Hi, Leandro. Thanks for having me, actually. Okay. So, something about myself. I actually live in the north of Germany, in Hamburg, and I've been here for the last 8 years, I think. I work actually now partly as a teacher trainer still, and I work for some organizations, but I work mainly in a mainstream public primary school, which is a place I never wanted to be in my life and ended up there some years ago. And I do enjoy it because the variety of children I meet and the variety of people I work with is really wide. So I've got usually 23 kids in my classroom, and they range from absolute beginners of English to native speakers in one class. So that's one challenge I have. Plus, of course, all of these kids have got very, very different cultural backgrounds, social backgrounds. Some of them are in neurodiverse children. Some of them have got learning difficulties, or, there's all kinds of differentiation in my classroom. I have to look at each child to see how they actually can learn. And that's part what I think about or what I thought about when starting out to plan what am I going to do at this PCE next year. So differentiation is a very, very big topic, I think, and it's often wrongly understood. So that's my point, actually, and that's why I want to do this talk about breaking through the barriers of differentiation, because sometimes with the best intention we do create barriers through differentiating. Because I would say, like, one example I quite often is that teachers have got the best intention. They look at their children, okay, I've got this group of children who really struggle with the basics. I've got children who are kind of, they get along with things, they can do things with a little bit of support, but mainly independent. And then I've got the very strong kids who really don't need my support. They can go off with things. So they do create for each group separately on the same topic, still the same topic, which is good, but on the same topic, they do create, for example, different worksheets and workstations. And then they call them like, oh, you're my little dolphins, you're my little foxes, you're my little eagles. And off you go, take your material and yeah. And that moment, what they do create is a barrier, because whoever is in the dolphin group might not move onward to the fox group, or who's in the fox group might not move onward to the eagles group. And with that, they keep them at a level probably where they're stuck and they're not getting out. And it's fascinating to see. I had a child in one of my classes. She was really struggling with English. She was, getting the basics out was so, so, so difficult. And then we came to telling time. Telling the time. One moment or the other, she was the best in class. That was her topic. But if I had stayed in my thinking with, oh, she can hardly spell, she can hardly remember words, I would have given her very, very basic cards probably and said, like, oh, you just look at this little bits and pieces of telling the time. But all of a sudden, because I never did that, she just went with it, and she was so proud. It was amazing to see. And that's why I want to break down these barriers. This is just one way where I say that we can create barriers. So
I see, I see.
And I don't want
So
to spoil my
that's
project.
what you mean by the title. That's what you mean by the title of your talk, then, that sometimes you see that in order to try and produce good results for differentiation, we end up, or we may end up setting up more barriers than actually the help that we give students with special needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Not only students with special needs. I mean, this is for any kind of student because you have got bad days, don't you, sometimes,
Mhm.
Leandro?
Yes, of
And
course,
then you
yeah.
don't want to do anything. You don't feel like doing anything. So you can't produce whatever you want. So if I put you on that day into my little drawer and say, like, oh, this is I put you into this box and I put you into that box. But you usually in this high level box and you don't produce it like, what's wrong with you? And you're just like, I'm tired, you know? So it's both ways. It's going up and down. It's open it up to everybody. And it's not only like having worksheets, but I think it's about the whole approach. And it goes back to the universal design for learning, where we need different approaches to actually accommodate all children. And it doesn't exclude differentiation. That's not my point. We just
Yes,
have to
yes.
rethink how to.
And very interestingly, just a little earlier today, I was speaking, just like you now, to Bulo van der Poel, who is more focused on teenagers, at least in his talk with us. So the fact that you have more your expertise in primary, I was wondering if that particular age group makes any special difference for you when you compare I suppose, roughly 6 to 12 years old. And if you think about either younger or older learners, whether it means anything in particular for you that you are working with that age range.
Um, it's actually where I ended up. It was not that I chose to teach primary. I used to teach all ages, from pre-primary up to senior adults. So
Mhm.
I have been in all kinds, and I've taught very long time teenagers and also preteens, and that used to be my absolute favorite group, the preteens, because they were somewhat in between. Like you could do lots of fun things, but on the other side, sometimes they were really like oh very thoughtful, etc. So I love that age group. But I ended up teaching primary, and I do say I do enjoy it now. It was very difficult at the beginning, like, oh, I start from, and I just return to the same, and I'm stuck in the same circle. And I thought first, like, is that really what I want to do? But to me, it's also a process because when I started out, I taught differently. So you change while you teach because you learn more about what you're doing. I have become the SENCO of my school, so the special education needs coordinator. So I'm actually in charge of all children who have got either in the lower spectrum, higher spectrum, also like gifted children, or if they're neurodiverse, or if they have got learning differences, whatever. They all come one day over, they walk over my desk, put it this way. But I also go into classes and watch and observe and see what's happening. And that is for me a big eye opener. And I think what we do in primary is setting the first basic goals for the learner, helping them to actually see who they are so that when they get to secondary, they actually have got a knowledge about their abilities and they can work with that. So if I push them and if I give them like in a positive way, and if I say, I don't see the boundaries of your learning because you set your own boundaries. Um, you can do a lot. You can achieve far more than people might think. Then that might promote this feeling also, which continues into teenage age. I hope, at least,
Right,
that
right,
they take
right,
that
right,
with them.
right. I'm sure all of us listening to you are looking forward to everything that we're going to get from your long trajectory. And currently, the school you're talking about in Hamburg, Germany, right? Which is where you're based.
Absolutely.
Lovely,
Yeah.
lovely. Would you like to close with any final word, any thought, a project that you may be working on, anything you'd like to add to close our wonderful conversation?
Well, I have to say my personal or my heart that is stuck with universal design for learning. And so whatever I do is somehow connected to it. And I am working at the moment on a website project to create or I create this for English as foreign language teachers to learn more about UDL and how to implement it into their classrooms. So I hopefully get someday to actually getting this really off the ground, because that's something which can help a lot of people, teachers and learners, if we look from a different angle at the learning. Yeah, that's
That
my
sounds
project at the
wonderful. That
moment.
sounds wonderful. And I
Big
hope
one.
that you can somehow connect the universal design for learning model to the talk that we're going to enjoy again on the 20th of April in Brighton in person, or anybody that can't make it to Brighton will have the option of attending online. So a hybrid event, a YLT Inclusivity Bootcamp as the title that we've chosen to put together the areas of interest of both SIGs, young learners and teenagers, of which I am coordinator together with Leticia Moraes from Brazil, and the inclusive practices and special educational needs SIGs. Annette, thank you very much for spending some time with us. We look forward to seeing you, me personally, in person on the 20th of April, and
Yeah,
hopefully many of you listening to this also online, wherever you may be in the world. Thank you so much.
thank you.